Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're coming to you with another episode sponsored by Gray Fox Games.
Yes, we are.
Indeed. We will dive into some what we've been playing, as I hope that somebody's actually played a game. Jeff?
But we all know that Adrian hasn't. Spoiler alert.
Oh, well, there we go. I can't believe you, Adrian. The audacity to not play a game to talk about for a board gaming podcast.
I know, right?
I'm disappointed in you.
I'm such a piece of shit.
And you also haven't played any games, you're right.
So, Jeff, what about you? What have you been playing?
I was diving into my new collection of a blank of the West Kingdoms. I received Paladins and Viscounts on Friday. Some of them have some solo modes that I have not yet been able to delve into, but I was reading about. And then Zach and I played Who Goes There on Sunday.
Because it was that classic thing of going there to play Kingdom Death, and then when we got there, we're all like, what do we want to play?
Well, and then they watched basketball for an hour and a half.
Yes. While sort of discussing what they wanted to play, but never coming like, I'd want to play this, I'd want to play this. And then we eventually settled on Who Goes There.
Yes.
Great.
Even though Paul's getting all the second edition stuff like next month, we decided to play this edition. So it's a The Thing game. It's based off of the book that the movie is based off of. Who Goes There?
Okay.
I think the last time we played it was at like the anniversary thing at Game Lounge, which happened this last year of 2019.
Yeah, because we played that the same time we
2020.
played 2020. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we played at the same time we played
Nemesis?
Nemesis, yep.
Yeah. And then Paul was like, "Oh, we should have played Nemesis." and my brain, I was like, "Yeah, that'd probably be a way better game."
Yeah,
because it is. But Who Goes There? There's like a thing, and you have to hold out for like 15 turns while getting maps.
Or 18 turns.
Or 18 turns. We did the 18-turn one.
Which ended up working out for us.
Yeah, because you need to fill the helicopter with maps and gas.
Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure it's that we're not building a helicopter out of maps?
For how many maps there are, and that's the only thing that gives you helicopter bonus.
Yeah.
Then you need 25 bonus, and a map gives you +1.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it gave us maps, and then it also gave us gas. I have a feeling that they really wanted us to leave a different way. They're like...
Yeah. The game seemed easier this time than last time. There are a lot of rules. So anytime you are, like, you don't eat or you don't sleep with another person for warmth, or if you fail, like...
certain attacks.
Certain attacks, you get a vulnerability card. There's 12 of them. Only one of them will then make you become the Thing, which only you know. And then when you do other things, like sleep with people for warmth, or trade items, you have chances to infect that other people. Of course, Thursby drew the vulnerability card with the infection card number 1.
And because he was the first person to get one, we all halfway jokingly were like, oh, well, Thursby must be the Thing now, so we're not going to do anything with them.
Which we didn't. Which then he had, like, the most vulnerability cards out of everyone, so then everyone super didn't.
Yeah, he got one, and then he got, like, he was stuck in a place where he, like, couldn't eat, and then he couldn't, like, sleep with somebody, so it went from 0 to, like, 3 pretty quickly for him.
Yeah.
And so and then at that point it was like Eric and I had one, you had none, and then Paul had one, and I ended up sleeping with Eric and we were fine. And then a little bit later through the game, I did a host test with you, which we found out is different than the DNA test or the blood test.
Yep.
Because that one checks on your actual cards, which was good. So you can see if they were the host of the infection, but it doesn't tell you whether or not they're actually infected. But
because they could have been infected after they drew vulnerability cards from trading or whatever.
Right, but me knowing that nobody had done anything with Jeff at that point, it was like, well, if I trade with Jeff, then I will know whether or not he's safe. And you
yes,
but I
couldn't be guaranteed that you were, because you did something with Eric at some point, and if he was infected, he could have infected you, and then your cards would have been clean, even though you were actually infected.
Correct.
But
yeah, so what would have had to happen with that was Paul had the first card or the second card, and he traded with Eric, and he gave him a card, so he had to actually show him whether or not he was infected, or he chose to whether or not show he was infected. And if that what made Eric infected, then when we slept together, then I would have been infected, and then that's how I would have been fine, or I would have been infected, but you would have thought I was fine. But that's the only way it could have happened.
Yeah. But Thursby got infected first thing, card number 1, and then and then he wasn't able to infect anyone. And then once you found out I was clean, I don't remember where we were. Eric tested Thursby.
He had the blood test.
He had the blood test to where you had to be truthful on your little clicker that tells if you're human or infected, and you have to be truthful. And at that point, Thursby should have lied his ass off and been like, no, Eric's lying. He has to be the infected one. Because we didn't have any real verification for Eric at all yet.
We didn't have any verification for him. Yeah, we didn't have any verification, but we all had that. We all are pretty sure it's Thursby. So if Eric was just like, it's Thursby, we were all like, yep, that makes sense. And I don't know if he would have been able to convince us otherwise.
Yeah. So then Paul immediately took the flamethrower to him.
Because in this game, you can choose the turn order, and
the leader chooses the turn order, which was me.
Yeah, and that was the end of the.
It was the last action of the last phase. The previous round.
So there was nothing that Thursby could do once he got outed, because when you attack somebody, you just do damage to them. You just do strikes. There's no defense or anything like that.
No.
And so it's super easy to kill somebody, especially if you have a flamethrower.
Yes, which is very good at killing things.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact. So then we had no more infected person, and because they weren't able to infect any of us, and we had to get all the helicopter parts, which we still only barely got by the end of the game, and we were playing the extended game where we needed, where we got 18 instead of 15 turns. And then we made it out. The game is pretty flawed.
Especially once, I know for me the real problem for it came once we were pretty much settled on Thursby being the bad guy without knowing.
Yeah.
It was just like, well, we're not going to interact with him. And then once all the vulnerability cards are coming out, there's no reason for you, realistically, to share a bunk with someone you aren't absolutely sure with, because you just take one strike, and there's enough ways to heal strikes. That it was just like, there's his only chance of doing it was at the very beginning, and because Paul was the character that let him sleep with himself, sleep with his dog, and then which theoretically he might not have been able to do, because I don't know if he had his dog out at that point, but I'm gonna guess because he was playing wrong.
Yes,
shocking.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he had enough experience for that at least.
Yes.
And then, so that happened, and you were stuck outside, so you couldn't sleep with anybody.
The door was locked, yeah.
Yeah. And so, his only chance to really infect somebody, because we had that initial, gut impression of don't trust Thursby, because he was the first person to get one, get a vulnerability, meant he just had no real way of spreading it, because it's all voluntary in terms of,
the only thing that he could have done was, try to trade things.
Yeah.
But if we thought he was infected, would we be taking things from him?
I would 100% not take any. I would not have taken anything from him because that's how you can get infected.
Yeah.
So
then his only other option would have been to like, just attack someone.
Yeah.
Which is slightly different.
It's slightly different, and that does give you a chance of infecting somebody else.
Yes. But then you know that person is infected that attacked.
Yes.
Because they reveal that they have the infected card, and then they can attack as many people as they have vulnerability cards that aren't infected. They shuffle them all up, and then everyone they're attacking draws one, but there's always +1, so you have a chance. Well, yeah, because
there's
you have
a
to have
chance
a
that nobody
vulnerability.
gets it.
Yeah, because he could just have his infected card. But if someone got that, they're now infected, and now they lie and say, "No, I didn't. No, it was just blank."
Yeah,
because it's all hidden.
Exactly, and so that was his only other thing he could have done was attack, die, because there's no way we would have let him live after that.
No,
but that would have been his only chance to spread the infection and hope that one of us, or that he wins through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I know for me, once we killed him, like we still had a third of the game left, and I feel that the game's cooperative components or mechanisms don't hold up by themselves.
No, you need that pressure of who could be infected. Like what would the Thing movie be if Kurt Russell just fucking flamethrowered down that dog in the very beginning of the movie?
Exactly.
And then it was like, okay, well that was weird, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Norwegian guy didn't blow himself up. And then they can tell, like, oh, we found an alien, let's go find the ship. And we can sell it for a lot of money.
Yep.
It'd be a very different movie.
I was going to say, or just be an hour and a half of all of them sitting around drinking in the cafeteria.
Playing ping pong.
Like, wow, that was really fucking weird. Fucking dog came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Tried to eat me. Yeah, like... that and like the combat rules are very flimsy and not great. Like there's no chance to defend, like Zach was saying earlier. It hopefully the second edition that's coming out fixes. Well, I know it's fixing a lot of problems, but hopefully it actually fixes them. Like the random event cards you get every round can lock the door from inside to outside, outside to inside, and you can just keep getting that round after round after round. Where people aren't allowed to go outside, people aren't allowed to go inside, you're under lockdown, and the second edition will add some keys that let you go through the lockdowns. There's like a new damage type with frostbite, so I guess you can't just stay outside forever, maybe. Because that's where you get experience. I think we played experience wrong the first time we played, where every time you did the phase pile search, you were supposed to get 2 XP, and then sometimes the cards also had XP, and I think we weren't giving ourselves those 2 bonus XP just for doing a search outside.
Yeah, because I remember when we finished the first game, we had maybe 12 of the points and like half of our things unlocked, and it was like, how are you supposed to unlock everything on this?
Yeah.
But on here, it was Paul, me, and I think even you had the overstock unlocked.
Because
and so
your
it was
overstock is useful for the end game, which is also totally fucked.
Yeah. But yeah, we were able to get things unlocked a lot easier, which was good.
Yeah.
But it was it just felt like you need that tension there to have it be like an actual like tense game.
Yeah.
But like both times I feel like we were able to, like the first one, I think we were like I got infected by somebody, but then we died fairly early on or something like that. So it only there wasn't a chance.
I think you died. Did you die from strikes or something like that?
Yeah, I died from strikes or something like that.
The end game is fucked and super complicated. Like there's like a bonus total. There's a helicopter total. Because when you hit the helicopter round, the leader gets to say who gets to go on, who doesn't. People can vote the leader off to be so someone else can go, and you need to make sure you have as many humans on the helicopter as possible and no infected. if you leave any humans behind or they die, they still count towards your total that you need to, like, your helicopter total. And then there's a die roll of 1 to 6 that you get to your bonus, and the bonus has to hit the helicopter total or more, and then even if there are aliens on the helicopter, the humans will win. But if any aliens are in the helicopter, each alien gets a bonus roll, and any of their helicopter bonus cards will now count to the total. So it'll be harder for the humans to leave. And they get a 1 to 6 die roll. Just like, so they could have 2. If there was 2 aliens on there, they could have 12, which would make it impossible. So it's like ultra swingy on the end based on those die rolls. Thankfully, people have come up with alternatives where there's no die roll, and it's just like, it's 5 times the amount of players, and then if there's aliens on the helicopter, when you take off, there's actually like fighting on the helicopter, where you can like attack and defend, and the alien gets an extra die because they're a fucking alien now. We never hit that because we were all human.
Yep.
But even then, we still barely made the bonus.
Yeah, I want to say we got
3? So like 27?
I think
28.
we got 28, yeah.
Of the 25 we needed.
Yep. But there are definitely times where it was like someone was close to dying. I think I had 2 strikes at that point.
Like, if anyone dies in the game, they lose all of their bonus that they've gotten, and it just becomes impossible. I don't understand how you could, if someone had a bunch of bonus cards, they die.
I think the stupid thing is that it was 25, or like it was set at the number of players
5 times.
5 times.
And are we talking the set 2.0 or the 1.0?
Well, the original one, like the 2.0 was the one we played, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that one was set at 25 regardless of how many people got onto the ship. Or on the helicopter, right?
I thought it was 5. It was 5 times player.
Right.
Yeah.
But we played with 5 people.
Yeah, when you said no matter how many people got on the helicopter, yes.
Well,
but the
that's
original,
what I mean is that
the original is also doesn't matter how many people are on the helicopter.
Yeah,
it's just with that die roll.
Right, and so that's what's weird. Well, so if it's because we got on with 4 people, but we had to do 5 people's worth of stuff, and so
yeah. Which I assume, now that we're using experience correctly, every 5 experience in that overstock counts as a bonus, which we weren't doing before.
Right. Well, but that's what we did in this one.
Yeah.
Correct. But I guess what I mean is, it's. I don't like the idea of, if we only had 2 people left, how the hell are you going to get 25 if you're playing with 5 people? Like, that's where it just feels...
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah. And it's not real clear what happens when someone dies, and once you get your 3rd strike, you're just dead. They're adding, like, a knocked out rule into the 2nd edition where you go unconscious and someone can bring you back up when you hit 3 strikes. But, yeah, the 1.0 has some problems, with that ending being not great and super convoluted.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it was fine.
It was fine. It just took a while, and I felt bad for Thursby near the end.
Yeah, because we killed him.
Yep. Well, not just that we killed him, but there was no way for him to do his role in the game.
Yeah.
And so we killed him, and then he had a third of a game left to just watch as we just putzed around.
Went through the motions of going through the phase deck and then getting onto a helicopter all at full health and maximum stamina, like, alien attack, schmalien attack.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing a flamethrower can't fix.
Nope. And it did.
Yep.
But I look forward to seeing what the 2nd edition real changes are.
I would play it eventually, but I'm not in any rush to. I remember after my first play of the game, I was like, there's okay. And it was just like, well, I guess we could do it again. And I'm just like, I'm not in the mood to play it anytime soon.
It was certainly better now that we're using, like, most of the correct rules.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right on.
The honest of rights.
Was there anything else that you guys ended up playing, or that you played outside of that night, Jeff, that you want to talk about? Or
I fiddled around with those West Kingdom games, but that's all I've done.
Yeah. You kind of touched on that at the start
I
there.
look forward to playing those very much because Architects and Paladins are apparently very, very, very good. We did that demo at Gencon of Architects with the jail, with your workers, and someone finally pulls the trigger and everyone gets out. So I want to play that.
Well, that wraps up a still kind of longish what we've been playing.
You're welcome.
That consisted mainly of one game.
And basketball.
I don't know why anyone watches basketball, but that's another discussion.
Thankfully, none of us.
Moving on into some general bantery banters. So I have now beaten Control twice.
Nice.
The main game, because I don't know if I talked about how I thought it was bullshit. So like I beat Control because it was like on the Xbox Game Pass.
Where the saves don't carry over.
Yeah, to the new edition. So I got the new edition for the expansions, and so I had to beat it. So I raced through it. I mean, I just finished it, so I knew where everything was. Yep. Finished it real quick, and then I've started the Foundation expansion, and I gotta say I'm super disappointed so far. There's been a couple little like gameplay things like that I haven't enjoyed. Like at one point you have to choose whether like you get the power that works this way or a power that works that way. And it's like, I want fucking both, man. This is bullshit. And then so far the story for it's not that interesting. And the thing that's most disappointing and has really stood out to me playing on my Xbox Series X on my fucking super fancy TV, the animation for like the cutscenes seems atrocious.
Most of those cutscenes are pre-rendered 30 frames, so that's probably why.
Yeah, that makes sense. That was like
I didn't notice it in the main game. In the main game, I thought the cutscenes looked amazing.
Yeah, probably with the DLCs like that don't get as much attention, which is probably why.
Yeah. That's been real disappointing.
Yeah. Outriders.
Yes.
Demo.
Yeah.
Oh, that was real brutal to be like, oh, I'm at 90 plus FPS and it just
30 locked 30.
Yep.
So I still like the overall gameplay of Control. And at this point, like I just got my achievement for spending the like 100 skill points or whatever. So I'm basically maxed out on everything I regularly use as far as powers go. So I can largely wreck face. Although I have hit an interesting point where like some of the enemies like in this expansion, they are tough. And I assume that as I play more, enemies will get tougher. I'm maxed out. I can't get stronger. So
gotta get good.
So this might turn into similar to the jukebox, something that just makes me want to rage quit and hate everything. But I can highly, highly recommend and continue to highly recommend the base game for Control. I'm going to play through Foundation, and then I'm going to go do the AWE expansion, which is a major tie-in.
Alan Wake.
To
Alan Wake.
Alan Wake.
Experience.
I wasn't going to spoil it.
Well, it's...
but...
It was highly marketed as Alan Wake expansion in Control.
Yeah, well, I missed all of that. Like, I was super excited the first time in
Control stuff.
Also true. I was super excited in the base game of Control when I first found like a little hidden area where like it referenced something from Alan Wake, and I was like, "Oh shit, connected universe!"
Yeah, I think
even though I never finished Alan Wake or
neither did I. But I think it diminished a lot of what Alan Wake was by adding it into this universe. But
that's an interesting take.
Yeah, but they're both still really good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and then I've played a little bit more Valheim. Been terraforming for a major base, and that's just fucking tedious. Tedium.
Cutting away mountains.
So, building giant flat spaces off of a mountain, which uses so much goddamn stone.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Did you get
even knowing? Huh?
Are you into mountains now? Are you into?
Not yet. No.
Still haven't beaten Bone Mass.
We still have not beaten Bone Mass. No, we haven't even tried. We haven't even gotten to Bone Mass. Like we have his location. But yeah, the new base is adjacent to the mountains, so that when we beat Bone Mass, we'll be able to immediately take off into the mountains. Megan was like, I'm going to go check out these mountains anyway. And then she was like, I'm dead.
Yeah, that seems right. Was it the wolves? Was it the wyvern? Or the giants, the stone golems?
I think it was wolves.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Yeah. The problem with wolves is not one wolf. It is when you see, like, you're like, oh, here's one, and then fucking 3 are like, surprise, motherfucker.
And that's basically what happened, because she was like, oh, it's a wolf. She was like, oh, he kind of bites hard. Okay, he's dead. Ha ha ha, I got this, and it unlocked this, and this is cool, and I'm dead.
Yep.
It was like, oh, did the rest of the pack find you?
Yeah. Now you just gotta go back up there without your cold weather equipment on, so you might freeze.
Well, we've gotten enough stuff from the swamps that we've been able to get the frost potions or the warm potions to not freeze. But yeah, so
once you get a cape from them, from the wolves, you won't have to worry about that anymore.
Yes. I knew that. I have not told Megan that. She's very much into like wanting to learn things on her own, whereas I'm like, I already read almost everything on the wiki, so
gotcha.
Because that's the kind of person I am.
When we started playing, there wasn't a wiki.
Have you guys been getting any of the ooze that's on the trees in the forest or in the swamps?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we've gotten a bit, but like so far we have no use for it, so it hasn't really been a priority.
Okay. I know that you need to get that in order for the bow, maybe? I don't like one of the bows.
I think it's one of the
so
bows.
I just wanted to make sure you knew, like, you had that one unlocked. Because then if you're like, oh, I got the silver, and why can't I build this thing? It's because you need that. So
gunk.
Yes, gunk. So yeah, that's been most things for me. Let's see, I'm trying to remember. We recorded the night of the big snowstorm. So I think
it was the day after.
It was the day after. We recorded on Monday.
We went over number 4 all-time Denver snowfall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We had a little bit more snow last night.
It was very wet and heavy and is all gone already.
Yeah, unsurprising.
It's super melted. So yeah, that's then I think that's everything. I went snowboarding again, had a bunch of fun. We brought friends up. We had friends come join us for the Friday day, and that was a lot of fun. Introducing them to like backcountry stuff, and actually just having somebody else to kind of ride with. Megan and I are in the running for maybe getting one of us getting a free pass next year. Knock on wood. Cool. They're doing a competition. Like they gave out these little passports where you had to find different stamps hidden all around the mountain. And when we left on Friday, we only had 2 stamps left. And talking to the people there, they were like, yeah, that means you guys are like right at the front of this thing. Like if you can find those last 2 stamps, it's whoever is the first to turn in a completed
where were the stamps at? Were they just like out?
Yeah, just out. So they're like tied to trees and stuff.
So I'm assuming after you stamped one, you didn't like cut it loose and then just stole it, right? So no one else could complete it on time, right?
No,
that's the logical thing to do.
We did not do that. We're not that mean.
Okay.
Especially like one of the 2 that we have left. We have good intel on where it is, but one person was like, "Oh yeah, it's up here," like and it's kind of hard to find. One of the like people who work there was like, you're on the right track if you're in that area. But then somebody else we were talking to was like, yeah, no one else has found that either, so you don't really need to worry about it. And it was like, well, which is it? Like, is it up there and people have found it, or do we not need to worry about it? So we're going up again upcoming Thursday and Friday. Are essentially our last time really getting to go up there before they close. I might go up for a day trip the following Friday, April 4th.
I thought you said they closed March 30th, 31st.
March 28th. But then they did extend a week. So,
gotcha.
But this upcoming weekend, which is like the 25th, 26th, will be Megan and I's like last chance. Like that's our last planned weekend up there for us. And then the week they extended, her work schedule, because she wasn't planning on them being open, her work schedule doesn't work. She works like Thursday night. So I might go up Friday day after she gets home. Like when she gets home from work, I might take the Subaru, go up and do a day of riding on my own while she sleeps after her night shift. But we'll see. That's 2 weeks from now. Who knows? Who knows what will happen between now and then?
Well, there's like Epic Pass details coming out tomorrow, so
yeah,
we'll see what that's. This changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We've been talking about like whether or not we'll get another mainstream pass in the future or not. And going to Wolf Creek for my birthday, like it was really, really nice getting to ride lifts and run down groomers and stuff, but we don't miss the crowds of any of the I-70 corridor, so we're in a state of transition and flux. We'll see. Yeah, that's my bantery things. What have you guys got?
Nothing. I don't know. Beer continues to flow.
Well, that's good. We missed out on Split Lip because of Jeff.
Yes, me, and not their total lack of actually putting their schedule anywhere you can find it.
Correct.
Except sometimes on their Instagram, and it's not really that. It's usually their like whatever the retweeting equivalent of the brewery that they will be at when they post their Instagram food truck schedule for the week. That's usually how I find out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I did not. Even though I follow Little Machine, I didn't see them post a food truck schedule. It was only later on that day, Saturday night at like 9 o'clock, that I saw them re-Insta picture of someone eating their food, and I was like, fuck, they were somewhere today. But it seems like they've been every other week, so it can be pretty safe. In 2 weeks, they will be back.
Yes. Yeah. We'll just start messaging. Jeff, where the fuck are they?
April 3rd or 4th, because sometimes it's on Sunday.
Yep.
Very good Nashville hot chicken.
Yes.
And burgers. Their burgers are very good.
I'm sure they are, but I'm there for the chicken. So it's like going to
I want to say they like fry their burgers too. Like
I don't know.
There's something they do with their burgers and they're amazing, so.
Gotcha. I finished the Spider-Man DLC, which was good, but also I don't really care that much about like Hammerhead, and he was like the bad guy for it.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's just mafia guys, and then mafia guys that get like high tech equipment.
Hooray!
And then mafia guys on steroids with high tech equipment. I'm like, okay. But It was always nice to get. It was nice to get more of that, and now I can go into Miles Morales. So
neat.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Snyder Cut got released.
Oh yeah, I watched the Snyder Cut.
Same here, and I basically feel it was better than the first one.
It was better than the first one in almost every single way.
Yep. But you only need to see it if you're like, I want to see a better version of Justice League. That's the only time I would be like, yeah, you should watch it then.
Or if you're a big fan of Cyborg.
If you're a big fan of Cyborg, just go watch Doom Patrol. Just go watch Doom Patrol if you like Cyborg.
Is Cyborg in that?
Yes, he is.
Okay. It's not the same Cyborg, though.
No, it's not Ray Fisher.
Same, and it's not the same universe.
No. It is the same. It is the same universe as Titans, though. Because I think they appeared in an episode of Titans.
It's all like is Titans the CW one? No. Okay.
No, remember that's where Robin said like fuck, and they were like, oh.
No, I don't.
Okay. I didn't see it either, but I think that's what in like the trailer. I remember. All I remember from the trailer is just him going like fuck Batman, and people are like, oh man.
Oh, gritty.
Yeah, exactly. But Doom Patrol is real weird, but real good.
Yeah, I've heard it's very good.
Yeah. But yeah, it was nice that Cyborg actually had a plot, and he was like the heart of the movie, more or less.
Yeah. The Flash did something.
Yeah, he
multiple
did something
times.
cool. Yep. His couple flashy sequences were nice.
They cut out his whole like powered intro scene from the original cut.
Yep.
Where he like pushes his finger through the glass, and it turns to like liquid because he's going so fast, and then shatters, which was super cool.
That was cool, yeah. They fixed all of the major problems of like plot where you're like, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like, why did the mother box, like, once they brought back redacted?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Superman comes back to life.
Yeah. Yeah. Once they in the original
but they use
one,
it, and then they just leave it there, like it's not the thing that the bad guy's been looking for the whole movie, and it's the last one he needs. And then they just see in the distance it floating into the sky.
It's like, what the fuck was that? But here they actually, like, it couldn't Steppenwolf couldn't find it unless it was turned on, and they had to turn it on in order to bring back Superman.
We're finding it by smell.
Yeah, they were finding the smell of the mother box.
Oh God,
they say it a lot.
I want to say I watched somebody. They said that they counted at least 46 times, which feels like an exaggeration, but also it doesn't. So
yeah. At least it was slightly less horny for mother boxes than the original one.
Yes. But they actually made like it a compelling thing of like, oh, we have to turn this on in order to bring them back in order to defeat them, but that'll let them know and accelerate the whole thing. And then like somebody actually, there was a whole plot beat about that one mother box, so that was better. His mustache gate from Henry Cavill was gone.
Yep.
Which was nice. They took like a lot of the stuff that Whedon had in there was unsurprisingly like jokes because they're trying to make it more MCU-ish. So a lot of those
and very brightly lit.
And so they took out a lot of jokes, and I was only disappointed that they took out one in particular.
And I don't remember which
the
one.
Pet Cemetery one.
Oh, the Pet Cemetery. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
there was always stupid like ADR jokes, like the Flash being like, "Do we bow? Do we show them our bellies?"
Yeah.
Like stupid. It's like I guess I do bleed, or whatever Batman said.
Yeah.
Like, do you bleed?
It's like, oh, something's definitely bleeding, or something like that.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
The Joss Whedon was removed, and I think it's a much, much better movie.
Yeah.
The Flash has things to do, because he had nothing to do in the movie. Cyborg has things to do, because he had nothing to do in the movie.
Batman actually has stuff to do in the final fight.
Instead of just stand there, which he kind of had like the least to do once that final fight started.
Yeah. Well, because at that point it was like, yeah, well now we have to have the superpowered people fight. And then
the superpowered guy, yeah.
Exactly.
You shoot bug people.
Steppenwolf was better too.
Way better.
He looked a lot better. Although it was really weird how his like metal costume was just like always just like
it was like an active armor of spikes.
Yeah. That was just always twitching.
Yes. How angry he got, it got spikier.
Yep.
But it looked good.
Yeah. But you could probably shave about 20 minutes out of it if you just took the slow-mo stuff into regular time. That would cut.
You could probably save 20 minutes just by cutting the slow-mo stuff in half.
Yes. And then you could also cut it with the epilogue because that was not needed at all.
No.
I understand why it was in there because he's I'm pretty sure he's not doing anything else in the DC EU. Now, obviously, I say that, and then but
that's where like the new
dump trucks of money can always change people's minds. So that's what Michael Bay kept saying. He was out a Terminator, and they just kept bringing him back in, or not Terminator, Transformers. Yeah,
they're like big Terminators that transform.
Exactly.
That's where the new Jared Leto stuff was. That's where Martian Manhunter was. And it's all a giant wet fart that didn't need to be in there.
Yeah. Like, I understand they wanted to have at least one scene with Batman and the Joker. Like,
which didn't really happen, right?
No, it happened at the very end in a dream, in the nightmare.
Well, I meant like in any of the other stuff they've done.
Correct.
Like Suicide Squad, they were in like a car chase or something?
They're in a car chase, but they are never like
interacting.
Together.
Yeah,
they're never interacting, so they wanted one scene where that would happen.
And they made it happen.
And it was better. He was better in this than he was in Suicide Squad, just because he was not that Joker. He was different.
So
more different. So it was better.
Yeah. Yes,
it definitely wasn't. Some people were calling it the best interaction of Joker and Batman ever. That is 100% not the case.
Yeah,
like that one at least, it made sense in the sense of. That's what they wanted to do, but the Manhunter, it was just like, the first time you get introduced, it was like, oh, these two people have a great conversation.
And totally undercuts the entire conversation.
Yeah, when he just turns the mansion, and he's just like, you gotta get back up, Lois. And we're like, why the fuck? It was so much better when it was fucking, what's her name?
Martha.
Martha. How could I forget Martha?
Why'd you say her name?
But yeah, and then at the end, he's just like, I'm here if you need me.
I want to be a part of your teams, brah.
It's like, okay.
And then a much thinner, non-alcoholic Ben Affleck's like, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Almost literally hit the words out of his mouth.
Yeah. And that's about it. I didn't mean to spoil this one, but I feel like the people that needed to see it already saw it.
Yeah. So. It's fine.
Yeah.
No one cares that much.
No one cares that much. Adrian, I'm going to assume you're going to not continue to not watch it?
I will watch it at some point, I am sure. I mean, hell, it was probably within the last couple months that I was like, I'm bored. Let me watch the regular cut of this again while I do other things and don't really pay attention to it. I'm in no hurry. I definitely fall into that camp of yours, Zach, that you were saying, like, you know, it's better than the original, but there's not a real reason to watch it unless you really wanted a better version of the original, and I didn't. I was just like,
Gotcha. How do you feel about the Wonder Woman like theme?
I already saw.
It's
Jeff
it's not even the theme. It's just like chanting every time
she does anything.
I saw
you comment on that, and I was like, it can't be that bad. And then I watched it. I was like, oh man, the pitch meeting of this was like real good, and they referenced that too. Anytime they're like, and so Wonder Woman, and then he like hits his phone, and the music starts playing. He's like, so Wonder Woman starts doing.
See, so I'm gonna have to watch it just so that I can really appreciate the pitch meeting.
Yeah,
like that's gonna be a solid chunk of the reason why I actually watched.
Yeah.
The Snyder Cut.
I'll tell you this though, especially because it was 4 hours. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to be. I'm going to like sit down and watch it." So I would like watch it for like 30 minutes and then do something else. Watch it for an hour, do something else. I think I took like four settings to watch it.
Which don't they break it up into like
6 chapters?
Episodes?
There are 6 chapters and then an epilogue. Yeah.
Okay. So that's probably how I will consume it.
Right at like
later.
2.5 hours, it has a pretty distinct like intermission-esque.
Yes.
You can just like, all right, I can just pick up the rest of this later.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Speaking of superhero shit, though.
We have to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier now.
Oh,
Falcon and the Winter Soldier had first episode, and I loved it. There were some people complaining in the thread on the Slack channel about things, and I was like, nope, not here for any of that. I'm not here for any of that. This was 100% everything I wanted.
So it was how we felt when you came into the WandaVision.
Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
Although I tried to not be too down on WandaVision. I tried real hard.
That was just a joke. I just felt it was too easy to just be like to connect the two.
You're right, but I feel like it was how everyone felt when Paul came into the WandaVision chat.
Also true, yes.
Because Paul was hard on Team F WandaVision for 7 episodes.
I believe he said the 8th episode was the first one he actually liked. And it's like, how are you still watching it at that point?
Yeah.
Because it's only 22 minutes.
Yeah. But I
barely a Seinfeld episode.
Yeah, barely a Seinfeld.
If you're not watching it on TNT. And then it's like actually less.
Because don't they do it at like 1.05 like speed or something
like
that?
Yeah, so they can fit an extra commercial break in.
Gross. But I do agree with you. I really liked it as well. It had you can tell they're putting the money on the screen. That's for sure.
Yes, definitely.
And they're putting money into those helicopters that kept coming out of nowhere.
So I will fully admit there were aspects that were ridiculous.
It was very ridiculous. Yes,
the first helicopter was ridiculous.
I can be in for ridiculous.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Especially with Falcon, and like that's like I think if it was like Iron Man, people would have been like, it's fine that it was doing it. I feel like there would have been more people that would have been like, it's fine that it's happened, but I don't know. I did find it funny though, when Wes was like, yeah, why did it take like fucking 30 minutes for that? Like for opening scene, and I was like, it's not that long. I went and I was like, that's only 10 minutes, and then it's like, yeah, but we only needed like 1 chase and like 2 helicopters. And I'm like, I can't be that much. And then I was like, oh, that's like 5 or 6 helicopters. Okay, that was.
Yeah, the helicopter bit definitely got ridiculous. It was funny. I was watching it with Megan, and like Megan has seen, I'm pretty sure, almost every MCU thing because I've drug her through most of them. But she was like, at the start of it, she was like, remind me, Falcon doesn't actually have any superpowers, does he? He just has, like, cool tech, right? Like Iron Man? I was like, yeah. Basically, yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure he has unbelievably strong legs because at one point in one of the movies, he straight up kicks a helicopter and his legs would have shattered if they were normal legs.
I don't remember
he
him
doesn't skip leg day. That's the lesson here.
I don't remember him kicking a helicopter, but
No, he definitely does. He like kicks the fucking back end of it and sends it spinning out of control.
I see.
Yeah,
He does. He does. I mean, people have talked about that for a long time with Iron Man. Like, if that was really a normal human in that suit, he would be liquid after some of his landings.
Yeah.
but I'm always fine with just the fact that it's movie, so it's like it's tech, but
Movie
it's magic
logic.
tech. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I would just like in my mind. It's just how in if you ever played Portal, Shell has
It's the boots.
the boots on their legs because people could not believe that she would like fall so far without taking damage until they just put a little like suspension thing behind her legs that were like quote unquote absorbing it, and people were immediately like, okay, it's fine, I believe it now. Just as long as there's some sort of tech to be like, yeah, it magically does all that. So for me, I just view it as there's like an exoskeleton on his legs, but there isn't. But whatever.
Long fall boot
Exactly
is what they're called.
Yeah. We because we even laughed like at one point he in that fight, you know, his like heads up display says something about like thruster malfunction, and then a couple like little cuts later, you see him with the wings out and the jet going, and I'm like, did it say thruster malfunction? And then it cuts back to his screen, still says thruster malfunction, then like rerouting, corrected or something, and then his thruster like super takes off, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like
so like the baby thruster was okay.
Exactly. Yeah. It was.
She was.
Good.
She also pointed out, she's like, wingsuits don't fly, right? Like you steadily decrease in altitude in a wingsuit, right?
Correct.
It's like,
Correct.
Depends on how many
more or
helicopters
less.
that you fly into, and
That's
they take
true.
you to a higher altitude, and then you jump back out.
Yeah, it's like snowboarding with the lifts.
Lifts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the series of lifts. So
I did super appreciate that it was the same guy that Cap fought in
Yes.
his opener in not Civil
Winter
War,
Soldier.
Winter
Soldier.
Soldier.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
saying that in the thread, and then I forget who it was just like, everybody knows who that is, Zach, and I'm like, fuck off. The fact that it was a connection between the two, I was just like, oh, even a little one. I was like, oh, that's cool.
No, I liked it. I was super there for it.
I'm totally in for the fact that like it's the first episode set up their arcs, and I'm very much interested in where they're going, and especially that they're dealing with like veteran shit, and then possibly it was hard to tell. Well, I think it's a combination of veteran stuff and then race for him.
Yes.
And then just trauma and just what the fuck is he supposed to do with Bucky? So
Yup. Yeah, I'm really interested to see where they go with it. And see how that storyline plays out.
Yeah.
I'm there for it. Speaking of WandaVision, I did watch on our camping trip. We watched the first episode with Megan. I'm introducing her to it because she saw a little bit towards the end and was like vaguely interested.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I'll watch it again with her and see if like now that I've seen the whole thing, maybe I can find some new appreciations. I do appreciate if you go back and rewatch, even way back in episode 1, they hid little fucking hexagrams everywhere.
Yes, they did.
Like
yeah.
so many little subtle things that now knowing the whole arc and everything that happens, I'm like, oh, that's a reference to something that happens later.
Yeah. What did she think?
So, she was fine with it. It was only the first episode, so there wasn't a lot that was breaking out of
The sitcom trope, yeah.
the sitcom trope. She was like, how did she make the world black and white? And I was like, I don't know if she did. Like it's that might just be the broadcast that was coming out of her bubble. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll watch more, and I will continue to, in short bursts, update people on Megan's overall take on WandaVision.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I want more Marvel stuff. I'm ready for all the movies.
Yep.
And other TV shows and everything.
Well, after Falcon, we get
Loki?
Loki will be next, but I think Black Widow will be before that.
Yeah, Black Widow's slated for May, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
then we can figure out whatever the fuck that movie's going to be.
Yep.
Although Black Widow is easily the one I'm the least interested in because it's like she dead.
Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, I'm glad for her to finally get her own movie, and I have a feeling it'll still be good. I mean, I'm hoping it'll still be good. And I hope that I hope it's not completely standalone. Like we get something out of it that goes for like the broader narrative. But we'll
I would
see.
certainly think they would. I don't think there's been any Marvel movie that hasn't at least moderately contributed to the greater, narrative. But I could be wrong.
I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So.
Cool. Any other bantery things, or shall we move on to some news and Kickstarters?
I'm fine with moving.
Cool. News and Kickstarters.
First up in news, Z-Man announced this game, Cryo, a month ago or so, month and a half, and now there's actually details on what it is, and not just a name and a cool box cover.
Yeah. So the announcement I had pulled up here because I was looking at some of that stuff. It's from February 4th.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, like a month and a half ago. And essentially, this is going to be a worker placement game for 2 to 4 players. You're competing for resources on the upper ground area. You'll use those resources to build and upgrade vehicles, rescue crew, and explore subterranean, like cavern connected area that your crew can then kind of take over and settle. It'll play out over a series of phases where you send out your drones to gather resources, and that's where you can like rescue crew pods from your crashed ship. Like the whole theme is that your ship is crashed on this planet, and you're trying to survive. You can use the drones to explore deeper into the caverns. And then once you've used them, you only have 3 of them. Then you recall them back to your player board. When you recall them, you have 1 of 6 spots, like drone docking bays, that you can place them in. And which bay you places them in determines some subsequent, like, sub-actions that get activated. Those are interchangeable. Like, you actually get the tokens for them and slot them into your multi-layer player board. So that's kind of very flexible. What abilities those different docking bays will do for you. Another key part of the game will be these multi-use cards that you can use for basically 1 of 4 things. You can use the upper portion and tuck it above your player board as a permanent upgrade. So for instance, they show the Rhino card here, and its upgrade is that you can look at face-down cavern tiles. When a new cavern is scouted, you get the resources that are shown on the cavern. So that could be a pretty powerful permanent upgrade. On the side, there is a mission that is basically an extra victory point mechanism. Like for, again, this Rhino card, its one is expansion. 1 point for each cavern in which you have 1 crew pod. 1 or more crew pods. Then you can use it for the vehicle, which is the main section of it. That's the Rhino, and in this case, that's like a little vehicle that carries 4 individuals. They contrasted like they show the shark somewhere else in the release, and it only carries 3 of your crew for going and doing things in those caverns. And then the last thing is each card can be like gotten rid of for some scrap. So they have different things that they scrap for if you just want to get rid of the card and get some resources. So you'll use those kind of cards and your drones and your crew to gather all kinds of resources, explore these caverns, and try and settle them. And then at the end of the game, whoever has earned the most points doing those things will be the winner. And you can play it on Tabletopia right now.
Or you can buy it for $60.
Or you can buy it because it is available also right now.
Is it right now? Right now? Right now? Right now?
I don't know if it's quite out yet.
I think you can pre-order it. I want to see maybe it might be end of the month.
I don't know.
Z-Man. Yeah, it's still saying pre-order on Z-Man's website. Doesn't say when it will actually fully release.
I'm sure soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just lists April 2021 on like Miniature Market. So
okay.
Yeah. But like I said, it is available on Tabletopia right now if you want to go try it out.
And only like
and see if you
$48
like it.
on there, so
Yeah.
could be cool.
Indeed. That's Cryo from Z-Man.
Last up on news this week, we have some Gencon news. Gencon is postponing to September, so about 6 or so weeks from their original in-person date, with some more details.
Yep. So, they've moved from originally it was going to be August 5th through the 8th. Now it will be September 16th through the 19th. And they did that for a few different reasons. They wanted it to hopefully, by being later, more people will be vaccinated, and so that people will, be able to do it a little bit safer. It's going to have a smaller capped attendance this year, and a slightly modified format. Then they are also doing it concurrent with a bunch of Gen Con online events and local game store pop-ups that they kind of had done some trial stuff with previously. So it's going to be kind of a hybrid thing with modified attendance, and definitely probably won't still feel like Gen Con this year, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. They also do point out here, because one of the things I'd seen a few people complain about is that those dates are smack dab in the middle of Yom Kippur. And so they do have a whole big statement that they have added to this about what they're going to do for Yom Kippur to kind of like, address anybody who wants to do both. Come to Gen Con while also observing the highest holy holiday.
Interesting. I wonder how much of that those days off I would have already.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So for a lot of the Jewish holidays, like the first 2 days and then the last 2 days are like the most important. So that's when we get them off. But unfortunately, this past year, a lot of them were on Friday and Saturday. Were like the important ones, and I was just like, damn it, because they didn't carry over to the next day, like Independence Day or anything like that. So, but that's good to know, because I definitely would want to go if I have the chance.
Yeah, I am planning on going.
I will almost certainly not go because I will be trying to go to Geekway like 2 weeks later. So. Because apparently this year, 4 weekends in a row, it'll be, and this is not necessarily in order, but Gen Con, Geekway, Essen, and Origins all happen within a 4-week period.
I might try and do Geekway and this, but we'll see. When is Geekway again?
So, yeah.
The 5th, the Geekway 6th, and 7th of October.
Yeah.
Okay. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Looking at their little statement about Yom Kippur, which was updated like 2 days ago, well after their initial announcement, they basically said they have begun to work with a lot of local Jewish organizations and synagogues there in Indianapolis to see what kind of deals they can work out to allow Gen Con attendees to attend services and still participate in the holiday while participating in Gen Con. And then they have on their blog, they have another thing addressing it where they talk about that they messed up by not, even mentioning it in the original announcement or really taking it into consideration, and things like that. So definitely a little bit of our bad. We're trying to do what we can to make it better.
Gotcha.
And then they do also have a statement on here that apparently, and I hadn't seen any of this because I haven't followed too much of the actual conversation around it, but apparently, because this is the stupid fucking world we live in, Jewish people raising concerns that, hey, this is the middle of our holiday and that kind of sucks for us, led to a lot of people being like, well, too bad for you, and getting downright anti-Semitic about it. And so they do address here that they are committed to their anti-harassment policy and that they're going to be following up on any kind of racist, anti-Semitic, misogynistic, anything any kind of harassment in any comments that have to do with Gen Con to make sure that those individuals do not have the opportunity to participate in the convention. So there you go. That's the Gen Con update.
That's it for news.
Indeed.
Now on to Kickstarters, which we start with a fucking bananas. Crazy go nuts. So this is called Pixels. It's electronic dice. It's made almost $2.8 million. It's almost 20,000 backers. It's got 2 weeks left to go. And you can pledge for like $200 for one set. Or you can just get one die for like $30, $40.
Yeah, they almost have enough backers where they would have met their goal if everyone only pledged $10, which is bonkers.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't even get you one die.
No, it would not.
It's a double tip for thanks.
Yep. So anyhow, these are fancy LED Bluetooth dices. So they have designs for all the major types: D20, 12, 10, 8, 6, and 4s, sort of 4s. They show here, they definitely spend the first whole chunk of this Kickstarter convincing you that these are legitimate dice that you can actually use to play. So they show like weight-wise, theirs are coming in at like 8 grams for their D20 compared to like 6 grams for a plastic D20, 6.7 for resin, 13 for a gemstone, and 27 grams for metal die. So that theirs is right in the middle of that little spread, down towards the regular die weights. Their standard sizes, they matched those normal, pretty much all the other die. The only difference is the D4 is not a traditional D4. It's more of a like D6 with some pyramids on the ends so that you roll it a little bit more like rolling a log, maybe.
Clearly, they couldn't fit their electronics into the D4.
Into the shape, yeah. They couldn't figure out a way to make that work. But they also go into, that they worked really hard on the balancing, using counterweights here and there to kind of balance out some of the electronics that are in them, and that they ran a whole shit ton of balance tests, 10,000 roll balance tests, and that it basically comes out right on par with like Game Science dice and ChessX dice. Like theirs is actually more even than the ChessX dice, from the Mark Fickett comparison data that they show here. They're waterproof, so despite being electronic, you can drop them in a glass of sparkling water. That's what it kind of looks like.
They're all resin cast, so unless there's imperfections in the resin, they're totally waterproof.
Yeah. The die themselves, like I said, they've got Bluetooth and LED inside them. The LEDs are programmable through the app. So you can choose what color different numbers light up, things like that. They have wireless charging ability, so like the side opposite, so the ones basically on all the die is the charging pad. So when you put it in the holder, it'll charge. They say here that the battery life, that they get about 5 hours out of a charge playing with them. And then if you turn off the LEDs, you can get 20,000 rolls using only the Bluetooth. And the reason you would want to do that is the Bluetooth links to their app. And so it'll also show on the app what the die rolled. They've got inertial sensors so that whatever is facing up, it knows what face is up and can display that on the phone. And they are working to add that functionality into things like Roll20, Foundry, and some other virtual tabletops so that you can just use these dice and roll on your own table when you're playing online with your friends, which I think would be really cool. The other day when we were doing MHGG, somebody commented on the Twitch chat. They were like, I hear you guys rolling real die. That's some trust right there. Like, you're all in different rooms and trusting each other to be honest about your die rolls. It's like, yeah, why would we cheat? But with these, you wouldn't even need to have that dilemma.
Only the DM is allowed to cheat.
Yeah. So, Yeah, I don't know. They seem kind of cool. They are expensive, $40 for just a single one. If you get the higher sets, so like individual ones come with one single charging like small single die case. Whereas if you get like the sets, you get a full set that is its own battery pack. And it says that it can recharge all 7 of the dice in the to-go case 2 to 3 times before you need to recharge the case itself. So that's kind of handy. Not always having to lug around a charger just to make sure your dice are good for D&D night.
It seemed like the Onyx one, if the LEDs aren't on, it's not the easiest to read. Some of the other ones look like they're, highlighted with numbers, and some aren't. Like, if you have the LEDs off, how easy are these dice going to be able to read? I guess it depends on which set you get.
Yeah, it depends on the set. Also, it would depend heavily on, like, your individual, like, your room's lighting.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of them, like the Midnight Galaxy actually looks like the numbers are white-backed, whereas both the Onyx Black and the Hermitite Gray, I think, look like they're dark numbers on a dark die.
Or hematite,
so
whatever material that does or does not exist.
Yeah. I don't know what I said.
Hermitite.
Oh, I don't know where that R came from. Yeah, and you can see they've got like their whole little thing. They got a bunch of GIFs of all these different types lighting up. So some of them, just the numbers seem to light up, but like the Aurora Sky, for instance, the whole fucking die is like vaguely translucent. So it looks bonkers when all the
LEDs are going
LEDs
crazy.
are going off.
Yeah. And then like the Midnight Galaxy is a dark translucent one, so it glows a little bit, but it's like you said, the Aurora is like 100. That one's at like 50 or 60, and then the other ones are just the numbers.
Yep. They have a whole bunch of different sets based on like what you might want to do with them. So like the healing set is just a shit ton of D4s. Whereas they have like the Eldritch set that's a bunch of D10s for Eldritch blasts and stuff.
That the healing one feels like the
worst.
The worst one, like the most specific one of like you're getting it for that, and that's about it. Because I don't know of a lot of things that use D4s. Like,
well, same with like the Rage set for the D12s. Like that's another one that's pretty specific. I feel
you used a lot of D12s for stuff.
I mean, I guess for other games besides D&D stuff.
I just can't think of another game where you're rolling a fuckload of D4s and would want that many D4s.
Yeah. The only one I can think of that has a bunch of D4s is Kemet, and you need the D4s because they look like pyramids. So, like, you need the number up top. So it does, I mean, technically it works, but I feel like you're losing out by that. And also, I think those are bigger than regular dice, but yeah.
For sure.
The Divine set, though, is also one where it's D100s or D0s, double zeros, whatever.
Yes. So yeah, if you got a bunch of friends, we figured it out. We did the math. If you've got 5 friends and you each want to get one full set plus 1 die, 4 friends plus yourself, 5 of you, for $1,000, you can get 5 sets and then 5 extra individual dice.
So that's saving you $20 over the getting it by yourself. So you're losing money if you don't do this.
And one set with 1 die is $21 shipping, and if you do 5 sets, $44 shipping. Boom.
Yeah,
only double for 5 times as much.
Yeah. So that's clearly the way to go if you really want to get in on this.
Yeah.
And you might want to hedge your bets and do that, and then just hope you can find 4 other friends that will pay $200 for these things.
Yeah. This is also one of the only Kickstarters I think I've ever actually seen where shipping to Australia is cheaper than shipping to the US. Yeah. Bonkers. UK is the cheapest, which is also bonkers. But I think they're based out of the UK, so.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. He says...
Nope, Rockville, Maryland, so that does not make any goddamn sense. I am so confused. Maybe they're being manufactured in the UK? I don't know.
That would be a weird place for them to get manufactured.
I would agree. I don't know. Strange. But yeah, that's Pixels Electronic Dice. Go check it out.
Next up on Kickstarter, we have the Terminator RPG that you can use all those fancy dice for. Pretty well funded. What?
I was going to say, nothing like a rainbow die to really help grounds you in the Terminator RPG.
Pretty well funded. It's 57,000 of its near $14,000 goal, over 1,800 backers, a little less than 2 weeks to pledge. This one, with its most popular pledge being $125.
Indeed. So this is a new tabletop role-playing game based on the Terminator franchise. Well, the 1984 movie Terminator and all associated Dark Horse comic franchise.
What did you call it?
So
did you say it was a role-playing game? Because it's not just a role-playing game. It's a source book for the first Terminator film and its expanded universe. So, just want to make sure.
Oh, wow.
Just using the correct terminology.
Shut the fuck up. So this is based off of the first movie and then the Dark Horse comics. So not any of the rest of the movies. So essentially, you play as members of the human resistance. You can play in any time zone, including the 1980s, all the way up to the future war that you see in some of the flash forwards in the first movie.
Maybe the movie's just a big flashback.
Maybe.
Yeah, I know.
You flash forward all the way to, when is the future war again?
1997.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. It's the far future of the 2020s. So
yes. All of the main characters in the original movie, Sarah Connor, Kyle Reese, the T-800 are included, as well as content from the graphic novels and all new things, including different Terminator variants and hardware. The rulebook itself includes 2 different mission packs. One enables you to relive the movie, and then the other is the fight to bring down Skynet in a not-so-distant future war. Got a whole bunch of stuff, like Zach said. It's also a full source book for the expanded lore of the universe. It's from the same writer, Andrew Gaska, who worked on expanded universes for Alien, for Predator, Planet of the Apes. One of these things is not like the other.
One of these kids is dead.
But yeah, so I guess, as I said, you play primarily as resistance fighters struggling against the onslaught of Skynet. You can play whether you're people sent back in time to the 80s or just somebody from the 80s like Sarah Connor who gets wrapped up in everything. The book itself is meant to allow the DM, the director in this case, to create their own campaigns or one-shots. They have a whole bunch of different campaign arcs, campaign seeds, mini-missions, NPCs, weapons, all that included in it. Pre-generated characters that you can play as if you don't want to make your own. All that stuff. The rules are based off of the Nightfall Games S5S system. It's a D10 base system. You use a pool of dice, a success die, and then 5 skill dice per player. The more skilled your character is, the more you can roll and potentially succeed big. They've tweaked that system a bit to fit the Terminator system. Combat, survival, investigation are all things that are super included in the rules, as well as vehicle combat, time travel, computer hacking, all that stuff. So yeah.
It looks like Terminator. If you want to roleplay Terminator, it's the way you do it.
Yep. The final copy is supposed to be a 192-page hardback rulebook. They also have they have a quick start PDF you can go check out right now over on DriveThruRPG.
And their PDF pledge is only $17. So what do you got to lose?
Yeah.
Yay, Terminator.
I never knew that I wanted a Terminator RPG, but now I kind of want to play a Terminator RPG.
What about a Star Trek RPG where you're shitty ensigns?
No.
There's actually like a one-shot Star Trek RPG that I found the other day. It's literally called Shitty Ensigns. You're just trying to get through your day before you're fired. I didn't look at it much yet, but it looked entertaining. Anyways, that's Terminator RPG. Now, we have Clash of the Ardennes. Pretty well funded, 19,000 of its $7,000 goal, 542 backers, and about a week left to pledge this one, which you can at its only pledge level of $35.
Indeed. So Clash of Ardennes is a 2-player game where you and your opponent are facing off in the Battle of the Bulge. So essentially this is a turn-based tile-laying game where you are fighting the Battle of the Bulge, which takes place in the city of Ardennes. And the way the game works is you have this central board that is 7 streets. And you are each laying down tiles representing various troops that you have down these streets. And whenever your line meets your opponent's line coming down the street, you have a fight. Most of them resolve using a fairly simple rock, paper, scissors type thing, to where like tanks beat soldiers, soldiers beat mines, mines beat tanks. Different soldier types, unit types have different lengths of tiles. So like you can race down the street using like the really big tank tiles, but it might be really easy for, your opponent to counter you by just throwing a mine down right at the end. Ultimately, you have a secret objective that tells you like which specific streets you're wanting to conquer and how you want to conquer them. So like they show this one here where your objective is to conquer the middle road with only 4 units and a road of your choice. And so your objective cards give you some goals, and then you kind of got to bluff, which street you're actually trying to go for. On your turn, you have 4 action points to use. You can place a random unit for 1 action unit, random unit on a random street. You can take the last unit of a street and move it to the front for 2 points, or you can withdraw a unit from the front for 2 points. After you've used your 4 points, it goes to your opponent, and they get to do the same thing. Like I said, when units meet, you have the fight using that basic rock, paper, scissors thing. There are some special units that they've added in with stretch goals and things. But
like a general and spies,
yeah,
command tanks,
all kinds of stuff like that.
I really like that all the pieces are wood.
Yeah, so the components seem really nice on this one. The actual tiles are going to be wood tiles, decently thick ones, I think.
3 millimeter.
Yeah. 3 millimeter, high quality FSC certified wood. They are also working on a stretch goal for a large map. A large version of the map. Right now it's available as an add-on, but if the Kickstarter continues to do well, they're hoping to be able to include it for free. Yeah.
I like the art style as well.
Yeah. Seems like kind of an interesting little, fairly straightforward 2-player game.
With good style.
With a very
price,
interesting art style.
And not great shipping.
No. Shipping's a bit pricey. But yeah. I don't know. I think this one looks kind of cool. Initially I wasn't super sold on it, but then as I actually read through the rule book and stuff, it grew on me a bit. And I do like the idea of those cool wooden pieces.
Yeah, this is a second try, because there was an older version that they were kickstarting back in like September 2019 that was all like wood laser cut version. And so this is sort of a second try at getting it, which they are getting.
There you go.
Yeah. And that's
Clash of the Ardennes.
And then last up, another $1 million Kickstarter. Stellaris. $2.3 million of its $50,000 goal, over 1,300 backers, and about a week left to pledge this one, which you can at its most popular pledge level by far of $170. And this, it has minis.
It does technically have minis.
Yeah.
So Stellaris Infinite Legacy is a 2 to 4 player game, 2 to 6 with the Empires expansion, that plays in about 2 hours, and it is your latest big Space 4X game. to rival Twilight Imperium and some of those others.
I just learned Eclipse can play 9 players yesterday.
Eclipse, that's the other one I was thinking of. Yeah, Eclipse is bonkers. So this is based on the Stellaris PC game, and is meant to be an accessible 2-hour board game version of it. Just like in the video game, you can customize your empire. You can choose any species and then customize their traits, ethics, and civics. Customize the look of your species, your portrait, your flag, your starting planet, all that stuff. And it's all done by sliding cards into your player screen. They currently have all of the traits and civics and aliens from the base Stellaris PC game. I think some of the expansions might add some of the
there was a lot of
stuff.
like weird ones that got added. Insectoids and nanotechnology people, stuff like that.
So, it uses the same kind of variable tech tree that the PC game uses. So as you play multiple games, you can choose to keep like using the same races, so their tech trees build out, and the game gets more and more complicated the more games of it you play. But it starts off fairly simple with a new game. All of your action is simultaneous action selection stuff behind your screen, where you're placing planning markers on your explore, expand, exploit, and exopolitics phase different boards behind your screen. Then you reveal, and everybody does what they chose to do. And they say this lets you play a full game of this in about 2 hours. They also mentioned that over the course of the game, players can join and leave freely, letting you play with any number of friends no matter how much time each person has. So like the example they give is you start a 3-player game with a veteran, a new player, and then just player 3. And then later on in the game, the veteran keeps playing their same race. The new player decides to start a new empire. The player 3 leaves, and then now a different player 4 can join as another new race. So when you either change races or leave the game, your empire stays in the game and becomes a fallen empire, which is a thing from the PC game, and it is now controlled by the game. So it will still participate and still be a force in the game, even if you leave, which is kind of a cool concept. I'm very curious if it actually works as advertised.
Well, it makes me curious to see, like, do they list, like, what the actual end goal of this is? Like, how do you win?
Not that I saw. To be honest, I'm looking to see, because I didn't actually pull up a rule book. I'm curious if they actually have a rule book somewhere in it. And I'm not seeing that either.
It might have to do with like the endgame crises, maybe?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how Stellaris ends. Because Stellaris really doesn't until you hit like the endgame crisis, which there are multiple different ones, like extragalactic enemies come to invade your galaxy, or someone punched a hole to another reality, and now the dark void is coming to eat everyone, and
yeah,
you made a deal with the devil that made you super powerful, but then you destroy the rest of the galaxy, and yeah, there's...
Okay. So it says on here, like, because they had a link to in BGG to, like, sort of an overview of it. Mm-hmm. It says, the goal of each individual game session is to complete the number of objectives required to advance to the next era. 1 is required for the first era, then 2 for the second, third, etc. The end of an era, so you have to do a number of objectives in order to advance and win the era, and then other players have until the end of the current round to try and achieve their objectives. So it looks like if you win an era, you get some points, and then at the end of an era, all players in the game session will then advance to their next era.
There are 16 victory era reward cards.
Yeah, and on average it takes about 6 eras, hence the 5 to 7 sessions for an empire to ascend. A player ascends their empire at the end of an era by fulfilling their ascension path objective by the end of an era. So it seems like each of the games could be like 2 hours, but the overall like you said, Legacy-esque sort of thing, is it carries on to the next ones, and then eventually, if you're
successful enough.
Yeah, if you're successful enough, then your civilization can then ascend, and then after a player's empire ascends, the players will choose ascension event cards to add to the event decks, and then they will, when they ascend, it also adds a new origin card to the game that unlocks new story paths, new starting setup options, and new ramifications for the games.
So I think like they really are trying to implement. So like that's kind of Stellaris, the video games thing, is it's got these like branching narrative stuff where like tech you research and things you do can affect what potential end games you see. And so it seems like this is meant to be more of a, like they even have a whole section here on the immersive storytelling. Choices you make on event cards have immediate effects and long-term repercussions that will often last for multiple games. So I'm not sure, like, it probably depends a little bit on what particular crisis you face at the end, whether or not it will be more of a cooperative or competitive game.
Right.
So,
well,
like, does they even have... Go ahead.
I was going to say, it looks like, depending on how far along your civilization is, too, like, if you haven't beat Era 1 yet, then... Or if you haven't beat 2, you have fewer objectives you need to do in order to advance into their next era. So it seems like it can help lower era players catch up, but I don't know. Sort of, it seems like it has a catch-up mechanic, but it seems like the catch-up mechanic makes it harder for until everyone is close to the same level, then in order for you to actually go on to your next era.
That I don't know.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
It's coming across to me is that there isn't there is technically a fixed beginning, and then there is a individual fixed end, but like the game can just keep going and going.
And that's kind of how the PC game
how the PC game feels a lot.
But there is an end game crisis that sort of ends the main stories. But
this does talk about crisis eras. But and sometime before you win a game, like a player wins the game, the players will encounter a crisis era, and they occur approximately every 4 eras. And that they'll change, whatever it is will depend on what paths you've taken so far, and it'll scale on difficulty. And they have a tendency to impact the strongest player more, but everyone's impacted and will need to help to end it. A crisis can be defeated by combat, but there are also non-combat ways to defeat it as well. So.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
They have here like a bunch of different stories that are unlocked as well, like the Enigmatic Observer storyline, the Shadow Government storyline, things like that. So
yeah, there's always a ton of storylines in the game. Like the humans, you can become psychic, or you can become robot people, or you can turn into Qs, or whatever. You can be the Imperium of Man. Get yourself some Space Marines, maybe an Emperor, and then purge the Xenos.
Sure, if you wanna go down that path.
And this game lets you customize your empire like that, and totally do that.
Indeed.
I did see a cool mod for regular Stellaris the other day. Actually, it added all the Infinity Stones into the galaxy, and you could and if you got them all, you could do like Thanos type crazy shit, like wipe out half the life of the galaxy, wipe out 90% of everyone else. Fun things. Yeah, this game is very expensive. It is $170. It has a lot of scope, and
at the very least, it's by like a company that has done other shit. Like if this was like their first game, like we've seen some of those like really big ones. It's like, here's our first one. It's like, oh. But a lot of their stuff is more like it was Freedom, the Underground Railroad, 1775 Rebellion, a lot of like historical stuff.
Yes.
So it is. Oh, they did the Reality Shift game, if you remember that. It was the 3D racing board, like with a bunch of cubes, where you can move those around.
Yeah,
vaguely.
So they've been doing different stuff, but yeah, this one definitely seems much bigger scope than any of their previous stuff.
Yeah. They have been doing live streams and stuff, and been then moving those over to YouTube, so like you can go watch like the first round playthrough, Q&As with the devs, things like that. And they have a tabletop simulator version that is being worked on that they'll be using for some of these streams and things. Not sure whether it'll actually be released to people to try, but yeah, whole bunch of things to check out.
I mean, you could get this, or you could get yourself one set of dice. It's up to you. It's up to you.
You could get this, and then like Cryo or that other, and then one set of die.
Yeah.
What if you want both?
Then spend $400, Adrian. I don't know what to tell you. Sell your split board, and then you'll be fine.
Yep.
Damn. Early bird. I already had Stellaris, but early bird backers got a Steam code for Stellaris, the PC game.
It was literally $1 on Humble Bundle like a week or two ago.
Yeah. I mean, I've already had it for a long time.
And you also get a Stellar Devourer Broodmother Crisis Boss miniature too. So
as of recording, Stellaris is still $1 for the next 1 day and 15 hours. So if you want Stellaris and not spending $170.
Indeed. So yeah, that's Stellaris Infinite Legacy, the final Kickstarter for tonight's.
And the final Kickstarter ever.
Unlikely.
Until next week.
Indeed. That lets us move over to some listener feedback, where we have a new YouTube comment from episode 222, last week's episode, third time's the charm, where Mike Jones comments, Adrian at 5212, quote, the various designers. Also Adrian, lists 5 Knizia games and no others. This is a true thing that happened. I did not, as I was going through that bit of the news, I did not realize those were all Knizia games at the time. And so I was trying to hedge bets. Plus, I think I was reading from their statement where it said that rights were reverting to the designers. So, I don't know. You got me, Mike Jones. You got me.
It's not hard. You can get him pretty much any time.
It's really not. Yeah, that's it for listener feedback this week. If you would like to give us some listener feedback, there is a bunch of different ways you can do so. You can send us an email.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can follow us over on Twitter, where I tweet under at MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
We have our Instagram account at MHGameGuys. A Facebook page, facebook.com/MHGameGuys. Our website is currently defunct, but you can still see our content on the web over at punchboardmedia.com, where all of our episodes go up, along with show notes that include links to the news and Kickstarter items that we talk about, so you can check them out yourselves, as well as links to things like our Slack channel, if you would like to join and participate in all of the ridiculous and inane chatter that occurs over there about all types of things. We also have our BGG guild number 2731, if you would like to like us over there. And our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/MHGameGuys, where MHDD continues to do every other week D&D live plays, and where the three of us will soon be back to doing some content, as we are all three currently moving along in the vaccination process. So
some vaccinated already.
Maybe start of May? Yeah. 2 out of the 3 of us have already been stuck once. The third is scheduled to be stuck for the first time.
I was assuming you were going off the fact that this would be released on Thursday, in which case all of us would have had the first one by that point.
Well, there you go. By the time you're listening, we should have all been stuck at least once.
Yep. Do you guys, how long is it in between 1 and 2?
3 weeks?
It's
Does
so
it
for
depend
the
on which one you
Pfizer,
have?
it's supposed to be
Okay.
3. For the Moderna, it's supposed to be 4. But like, I'm scheduled 4 weeks after my first shot for my second Pfizer shot, which Megan was like, it's supposed to be 3 weeks.
Mine
I don't think
mine
it
is
super
3
matters, but
for Pfizer.
yes.
Gotcha. I got the Moderna one, so it would be 4 weeks after this. And then it's 2 weeks after that it's like fully effective, or?
Correct.
And
Correct.
the first shot efficacy grows within 2 weeks as well.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So sometime in May, we should start streaming again full on in the studio.
Hooray.
Which means I should probably start making some kind of a plan to actually return this to a usable studio.
It's just gone. There's no more table.
The table is still here. It's just got a lot of stuff on it.
Gotcha.
It's turned back into a garage.
Yeah.
We should definitely take this time, Adrian, to actually upgrade it a little bit, since, with all that hordes of money that we're hoarding.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All that money, Adrian. Think of
all that money.
That money.
Yeah,
All that money
that
that we currently have available to us.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. And undoubtedly. It's really nice for the government to give me money to back pay the podcast. Anyhow, so we're looking for like an early, well, I guess not, it's technically spring now. We're looking for a May return to doing live streams of board games here in the studio, live streams of these podcast recordings, and just a bunch more actual streaming content, in person recording, all of that type of stuff once all three of us are well and truly vaccinated.
Yeah.
So
people will be able to see how much hair has grown on Jeff's head and how much hair has not grown on my head. So
I am definitely not gonna. This actually makes it for sure. I was already on the fence about like, do I clean up my beard because it's starting to annoy me a little bit. But no, I'm going to at least wait until after our first stream so we can see the glorious pandemic beard that I've been working on.
I think all three of us have only
It's
been
not
in the
great.
same place at the same time once in the last year.
Yeah, I think we managed one single Torchies where we were all in the same place.
And that was on my way to work when I was working nights.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Good stuff. So, but yeah, that's all the different ways to get a hold of us, and definitely be looking out and getting excited and hyped for the return to normal podcast shenanigans well over a year after they stopped. On that note, we'll wrap things up here. As always, we would like to thank our sponsors, Gray Fox Games. Their most recent Kickstarter, Ragnarok's, wrapped up last week, was very successful. Over 4,000 backers. And they are now starting to prepare for their for their next Kickstarter, a pairing with King Raccoon Games, who helped them with Tsukiyumi. And that will be the game Eos, Island of Angels, a challenging worker placement game with unique engine builder mechanics that we will certainly have more information about in the weeks to come. Jeff, do you have a prepared statement for us?
Of course. Gray Fox Games, quality games, cleverly crafted. Also, don't say anything to tease or anger the person torturing you. If you make him mad, it'll be that much worse for you. You'll need to save your strength.
Well, there you go. Save your strength.
All right. We could probably end it.
I was just waiting for somebody else to show they exist. That's everything, folks. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I have been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm Release the Jeff Cut.
Bye.
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 Punchboard Media, where we all
bring something
to the table.
pull up a chair at punchboardmedia.com.